Hi everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Iron Griffin Studio. Okay, so I wanted some visual interest pieces to go in my dungeon. The problem is with dungeons is they're very grey and kind of flat and lifeless. So I wanted some interesting pieces to kind of go in there and give it a bit of, a bit of height, a bit of 3D effect, and something that would kind of create an interesting room just by itself. So I'm going to make a hearth or a fireplace, and I don't know if I'm going to have a fire in it or if it's just going to be kind of a disused, abandoned one, but we shall see how it goes. It's going to be able to match my original dungeon set of tiles, and it also needs to fit easily into the terrain so that the tiles, the individual kind of squares, match up with the ones underneath it, because this thing's just going to sit on top of original dungeon tiles, so it needs to sit on top neatly and look like it fits without too much imagination. I think the key to this piece is going to be adding a few interesting visual interest pieces. Things like, I don't know, I might put something on the mantelpiece, maybe candles or a vase or something, or I don't know, maybe a weapon, possibly, we'll see. Yeah, let's just get to it. Crack on. Okay, so to start with, we're going to need some of this. This is XPS foam. It is 2 centimeters thick, and I got this off Wish actually, and it's not quite the same texture as the one I'm usually using, but I wanted to see how it modelled with anyway, and so I cut out a small section of the corner, which is a 2 by 4 inch sort of oblong, and we'll make the main bulk of the hearth out of it. And here it is, cut and carved into with bricks and textured as well. The top I left a little bit rough, but I am going to tidy that up a bit later. It didn't cut very well, in all fairness, with an X-Acto knife, but we'll tidy that up as and when. Next we have the base, the floor of it, I guess. The XPS foam again, just 1 centimeter thick, and it is just small bricks around the edge, a large brick on each corner, and then the normal kind of dungeon tile slab on top, just so it matches up with my already existing dungeon tiles, and it sits on the 6 by 6 inch there nice and evenly. So that's the idea, that's what it's supposed to look like. So let's get to texturing. Now we're going to use the aluminium ball, the method we all use, I think, for texturing foam. The idea is just start light. You can always go a little bit heavier later on. Just get the texture that you're happy with, and don't forget to go around the edges as well, around the front of the brick, because this is going to sit on top of all the other tiles. You want the whole thing to be textured. It's also worth pointing out that I decided to put a mantelpiece on the front of the hearth, and I'm going to use a small piece of balsa wood which I found. I had to carve into the top of it a bit more of an exaggerated texture for the wood grain, because it wasn't quite very detailed, wasn't quite deep enough, so I carved that in with a sharp tool, and I put some pins in the back which are just going to sink into the foam hearth, and it should just keep it nice and secure. They're just made out of paper clips. I just stuck them in, and there's 2 pieces of foam there on the underside of the mantelpiece, which is just going to act like a stone bracket sort of effect. I'll show you here what I mean. and just slot it in. Now, I didn't want the whole fireplace to just be like open backed. I didn't want to be able to see through it all the way, so I wanted an implied wall behind it to hopefully finish off the piece. And I'm using a piece of 5mm thick XPS foam, and I'm just going to texture it with my usual brick effect like this, and then with the aluminium ball go over the top of it and rough up that stonework. The brickwork effect used in this piece was just my usual method of kind of pressing the white plastic card rod or piping or whatever you're going to call it into the brick, into the XPS foam. And then here with three of the main parts mostly done, just put together, and that should give you an idea of what it's going to look like. Already pretty cool. Alright, into the messy stage. This is the undercoat that I'm using. It's just going to be a black acrylic paint from my local craft store, and mixed that with some matte Mod Podge, and it goes on very pretty thick. You don't tend to lose any detail, but it covers really well, and it gives a good surface for more paint and glue to adhere to, and you get a really nice finish. So just get that all over everything, all around the backs, around the sides, and on the tops, and work it into all those cracks and crevices. Ready for the next stage. Okay, now I'm going to paint this in much the same way as I paint any other dungeon wall. This is going to be different shades of browns and tans and ivories and vanillas and other kinds of natural stone colours that you could conceivably see stone to be. And you put this on in a kind of a random pattern. Just pick a brick and colour it in. This is my usual way of doing it, and the idea is that this wall would just tie in nicely with my other walls that I've already got painted. So really you just need to paint this in the same method as you would paint your walls. And it's time to dry brush the base with the usual pretty heavy grey dry brush. Exactly the same way as you do any of your other dungeon tiles. Remember, this has to blend almost seamlessly. And now I'm just adding a few bits of kind of browns and tans to the piece, just to make it slightly more interesting and more colourful than, well, grey. And then onto the back wall, same method again. Just make sure it matches any other wall sections that you might do in your dungeon. Give it a good heavy dry brush. Really mute down all those colours that you put in, and pick out all that detail. And finally with the hearth, apologies for the slightly glossy finish on the black Mod Podge there on the hearth. I think it's maybe the foam texture underneath that's caused that, but hopefully this dry brush will take away that glossiness. And it seems to be doing a pretty good job already. I'm leaving the top black because it's not really going to be part of the scene, if you like. Now, on to the kind of gluing together stage, I guess. This hearth really just wants to sit on there like that, but I don't just want to use glue, I want to use some cocktail sticks as well. Just to secure it, I think. Hot glue guns are going to be the glue of choice, so once these cocktail sticks go in, it's just the ends of some cocktail sticks, or toothpicks maybe, I think you call them overseas. But they're really just there to stop the thing from moving around so much. So just trying to place it very carefully and create a couple of small holes with the toothpicks so I know exactly where it's going to go once the glue goes on. And using a hot glue gun, 2 relatively small dabs should do the trick. I apologise for getting in the way of the camera at this point, but needs must, I guess. Oh, nice and secure. Get rid of all the wisps because they are possibly the world's most annoying craft issue. But my god, a hot glue gun is a lifesaver. Now with the back, just offering it up to make sure it matches the back of the hearth. Get rid of all this excess glue. And then we'll work quickly because this stuff dries really fast. Just press it into place so that's nice and flush. And sorted. And now on to what is probably my favourite part of any build. It's the washing stage. So just get it all into all the nooks and crannies. Make sure you don't reactivate the paint that you put on, so it's got to be nice and dry before you enter this stage. And just use the same normal wash that you would use any stonework that you've got in your dungeon tiles already. Until it's all nice and covered and looking good. Now I like creating things that are fairly visually interesting, so I thought maybe I can put some logs by the fire to add some visual interest to the piece and just make it look a little bit better. So here I got a piece of dowel. I don't know where I got this from, I think it was just a craft shop, and it's about 5mm across, and it seems to be pretty good for the scale that we're using just to make logs out of. So just paint the outside brown, or any old bark colour will do, and once you've done that you can just take a craft saw or a junior hacksaw and saw it into log-like sections all around about the same sort of size, I think. And then you should get some pretty cool small pieces that look like this. A few pieces here have chipped away as I was sawing it. The wood isn't the best quality and it kind of splintered away as I was sawing into it, but I think it sort of adds to the texture. You know, bark comes off trees when you saw it. It happens all the time, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to leave it as it is, and then there's a few there for you so I can just put them by the fire. Okay, so I wasn't happy with the hearth being kind of an unused derelict fireplace. I wanted it to be you know, have the option of having a fire inserted in there, and the best way to do it I thought was to create a little XPS foam insert, which I've done here, and I've textured it, and I can just put a fire on that, maybe behind a fire guard as well. So after texturing it, I offered up the fire guard here, which is made out of granny grating, or I think it's like crochet mesh or something. I don't know what it is. It's like a plastic mesh anyway, and it serves lots of purposes. And for this, I thought it looked pretty good. Alright, with this next part I seem to have lost some footage, so I'll just tell you what I did. The insert was undercoated as usual with Mod Podge and black acrylic paint, and then dry brushed in the usual way with that I would do any dungeon tile, just so that it matches. And then I attached the granny grating, stuck it down with some tacky glue, and I built a small fire on the inside of that grating, just out of some small bits of wooden dowel, just to act as logs again. And then I've put the wash on as normal. And the fire itself is actually made out of glue gun glue, just squeezed in and then kind of stretched up and into long kind of licking flames, if you will. It was then painted white as an undercoat, and the Uriel yellow was applied. I'm using Uriel yellow because it seems to be the most vibrant yellow that I have, and that's what you want for fire. And I gave that yellow a quick dry brush of Riser Rust because it's really vibrant orange colour, and that seemed to work really well. And then I gave that a quick dry brush of Abaddon Black as well, just to make the flames look more realistic. Alright, you know what, I really like this. I like just the small visual interest pieces that I've put on it, the candles, the shield, the tiny little bronze statue, which for some reason I absolutely love. It's just bronze paint with some nylak oxide, but it looks good. And I like the idea of putting the extra piece in for the fire so that it can be switched out for a lit fire or an unlit fire. Yeah, this fits in really well with pretty much all my other terrain, and I will be using it soon. So yeah, I'm very pleased. That's all from this episode. I will try and get something else made for the next time, and hopefully you can all join me then. You can definitely help support the channel by liking and subscribing and commenting on various things. Leave ideas for future builds if you want me to tackle something particular, and I'll give it my best shot. But other than that, I very much appreciate your support here, and I will see you again next time. That's it for now. Happy crafting. Bye.